Hi guys, this is Steve Moss, pastor at Boulevard Christian Church. God's mission for us here at Boulevard is really simple. We help people find Jesus and we help people follow Jesus. And our teaching team hopes that this message that you're about to listen to will help you learn to grow and trust Him more than before. If it does, would you consider giving a gift to Boulevard to help us carry out the mission that God has given us? Thanks. We hope your heart is fully open to what God has for you in this message today.
Good morning. It's a little slow on the applause there. We need to build that a little bit. It just, maybe we need to have an applause meter or something of that nature. Hey, something I want to remind people of is we have a missions team that's going to the Dominican Republic this summer. And next Sunday, right after church, we're going to be having a fish fry back in the student area. And let me tell you, we've got some guys that are great fishermen, and especially guys who are able to catch a lot of crappie. Now, I don't know whether you've eaten crappie, but these guys do not catch crappie, they catch good crappie. And so if you want to come and eat with us and help support the mission team, that would be great. Welcome to our third week in our series that we're calling Life Hacks. And basically, this series is about you know what a hack is. This is a way to solve some problems. It's a way to kind of circumvent some stress within our life and situation whenever you're able to figure out one of these life hacks. And so we're looking at the book of Proverbs, which is all about life hacks. It's all about wisdom, helping us make better decisions tomorrow by making good decisions today. Making a better life for tomorrow as we make good decisions today. And so we're in this series that we're calling Life Hacks, and Jim last Sunday did a great job talking about friendships, and so I see that some of you are sitting a little closer to people than you were last week, so maybe you're developing some friendships, things of that nature. I want to start off with a survey, all right? And so I'm going to ask that you, let's have the question up on, this is stated in the positive of it, all right? And I want you to raise your hands really high. How many of you are really good at getting lost? May I see your hands? Woo, all right. Now, I know that some of you, your wife is punching you and going, you're not good, you're bad. Now, if you get lost a lot, that means you're really good at it, all right? So, now, I don't know about you guys. I don't get lost. I just don't know where I am right that moment, That's the way guys do it. But we get lost occasionally, And so generally we get lost when we get on the wrong road or something of that nature, But here's something that I've discovered, just some observations about getting lost. And the first observation is this. I've noticed that when I get lost, I don't get lost on purpose. Do you? I mean, it's not because I used to think I've got one daughter that is really, really good at getting lost. She can have directions on it. She can have her phone out. Some of us in this room were before directions were on phones. We had to look at maps. There's a reason to maybe get lost with maps or something of that nature. But with phones and this obnoxious English voice telling you, turn left at the next intersection, turn left, turn left, turn left, turn left, it just gets a little annoying as we go along. And I used to think it was because you just didn't pay attention, but that's not entirely true. We who get lost try to pay attention, we really do, but we're just not very good at paying attention, so we're really good at getting lost, The second observation I'd make is this. You don't know that you're lost until you are lost, right? It's not like we're driving down the road or something like that, and all of a sudden we go, I'm lost, and we can back up 100 feet and turn around and go the opposite way, and we'll figure it out. We don't know we're really lost until we are lost, in those situations. And so it's kind of a deal, I don't know what it is about guys, but when we get lost and we know we're lost, you know what we do? We drive faster. Because we figure we can get wherever we're going that we don't know where we're going even faster. Several years ago, Steve and Don Moss and Tree and I went to a conference on marriage enrichment and teaching that to other people up in Branson. It was held just outside of Branson. And so I've been to Branson a lot, and I knew a back way in to get to this conference center. And after we were at least 30 minutes late, when we were supposed to, by my calculations, we were going to be there about an hour early, I began to wonder where in the world I was. Did I say anything to anybody? No. I just sped up and drove faster until Don Moss, bless her heart, said, are we going to get a speeding ticket too, as well as being late? You know, she needs some help with being nice to people at times within her life. You know, just one of those things that you need to know about Don. And so we don't really know that we're lost until we're lost. The third thing is, and this is going to be so profound and so deep, you're going to go, gosh, James, you are so sharp when I say this. Whatever road that you're on determines where you'll end up. Now, isn't that deep, you know? Whatever road you're on, whether it's a path, a trail, a superhighway, whatever road that is, whatever road you're on determines your destination. It may not be where you intended to go, you know, but that road determines your destination. As a matter of fact, if we have kind of a big idea for this morning, it would be this. Your path determines your destination. Your direction determines your destination. That is the principle of the path. Years ago, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when I spoke. There's an old farmer in Rochester where we lived, and he was one of the wisest guys that I knew. He could speak slower than most people in North Carolina, but he was very, very wise whenever he would talk. And he was always quoting Proverbs, and he would say all the time, whatever path you're on, James, it leads to somewhere, and it may not be where you really want to go, where you intend to go. So this morning, I want you to remember this phrase, all right? Your direction determines your destination. Would you say that with me? Your direction determines your destination. Let me say it one more time so we can all do it together. Your direction determines your destination. All right, so that's the principle of the path, and it's true no matter who we are, and it's true no matter what circumstance it is. Now, let me kind of expand that out a little bit if I could. Your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. I mean, if you're wanting to go to Florida and you load up your shorts and all the suntan lotion in the world, sunblock and things like that, and you head north on 169, I don't care what your intention is, you're not going to get to Florida. You know, if you head north on 69 highway, you're just not going to make it there because it's not your intention. I mean, you may get in the car, you may pray before you leave, oh God, I'm just looking so forward to getting sunburned in Florida. I can't wait to get there. You know, I can't wait to feel the sand between my toes and bring it back in my suitcase, all those sorts of things. Please help us to have a safe trip while we go to Florida. If you go north on 69, you ain't getting there, you know, because your direction determines what? Your destination. Now, you may get to Canada, but I don't think you're going to like the beaches that well in Canada, all right? So your direction is going to determine your destination life. And it doesn't matter what your intention may be, your direction is going to determine your destination. Now, about this time, some of you are thinking, we got it, James, okay? We know that. But this is what's so interesting. We know that in the realm of driving. We know that in the realm of hiking or walking. But when it comes to other arenas of life, there's this total disconnect when it comes to this principle. The principle of the path applies not only to where you drive or where you walk or where you go on a train to. This principle of the path also applies to your financial life. It applies to your relational life. It applies to the person you choose for marriage. If you're dating, it certainly applies to that, to the path that you're on. It's true for your profession. It's true in terms of your health. There's a path for all these things, whatever it might be. Your direction, not your intentions, not your hopes, not your prayers, not your belief. Your direction ultimately determines your what? Your destination, right? We're either victims or we're participants in the principle of the path. You win or you lose by the path that you choose. I thought that was a really well-chosen phrase, didn't you? You either win or you lose by the path that you choose. Now, we see it so well in the lives of other people, but not so well in our own lives, do we? There's a huge disconnect between the choices we make and the outcomes we experience in our life. We don't connect the dots very well. And we listen to friends, and they will tell us this heartbreaking story of situations in their life, and you're crushed by what happened to them because of a path that they came on. And you're thinking at the time going, oh man, this is just heartbreaking. But didn't you expect that? That was the destination. That was the direction you're going. Didn't you expect that that was what was going to happen? I mean, the road signs were all there. There were people that were going, no, don't go this way. Turn left, turn right, whichever it might be. And we sometimes see that in other people, that there's a contrast between hopes and dreams and the path that they're on. We get angry at God because we have this dream, these intentions. Why aren't they coming through, God? What's wrong? Well, the path that we are on is not going to lead to that destination because we think intention, we think hopes, we think dreams somehow trump the decisions that we make on a daily basis. But the truth of it is there's this principle of the path. And the principle of the path trumps our hopes and dreams and intentions every single time, every single time. The direction you choose, the direction I choose, determines our destination, right? Direction, not intention, determines our destination. We're going to look at a section of Proverbs this morning that tells kind of an interesting story. It is interesting. There's not very many narratives in the book of Proverbs, but this is one of them. And I think it's going to help us to apply this principle in a broader sense. But if you brought your Bibles this morning, if not, if you got your phones, turn to Proverbs chapter 7, if you would, and we'll begin with verse 6. Now, let me kind of set the stage for you if I can. Solomon is the one telling this story. Solomon is purportedly the wisest man who ever lived. He wrote most of the book of Proverbs, and he loved these short sayings that tell us about life and the principle of the path. And so he is standing in a house or on a wall of some kind, maybe the top of the house, and he's looking over the street down below him. And he sees this young guy that's walking down the street. And he kind of looks at what the situation is going around him, and he realizes that this guy that he sees walking along, he knows the outcome of his journey, even though the guy is clueless at the time. Now, this has happened to all of us in some capacity of life. Maybe you're you're in an intersection. It's been about a year ago, I was coming out of Chick-fil-A, where God's people eat, and I picked up a sack of stuff to bring back to a meeting that I had here at the church, and I'm walking out, getting into my car, and I see this guy coming down just as fast as he can down Shawnee, going east on it, and all of a sudden he decides to turn at that stoplight there, goes through the light, and he comes in. The guy's coming out of Chick-fil-A, and I'm a prophet. I could tell what was going to happen, all right? And he came in and, man, he just snacked into the front of that car, spun it sideways. It went into another car. That guy jumped the curb. I mean, it was a disaster. And I was sitting there watching. It was like slow motion. And you're wanting to go, oh, no. And you hear the slack, and you could see what's going on. He was on a path that had a destination. That destination was the front end of this other guy's car. And we see these types of things sometimes work out in people's lives or even in our own lives, You've seen, if you're parents, you've seen your toddlers heading towards something, and you go, oh no, don't go down those stairs, and you know that that's their destiny, Every once in a while, we get a snapshot of someone's destiny. And that's what's happening here in the book of Proverbs. Solomon narrates this young man's journey, and in doing so, he illustrates the principle of the path, because every path has a destination, and the direction that a person takes determines that destination. So let's look at verse 6 and 7 in Proverbs chapter 7. He says, now Solomon, again, he's at the window of his house. He says, I looked through my lattice, and I saw among, what's that next word? Now, if you have a hard time pronouncing that word, naive, all right? Sometimes it says simple. 2 weeks ago, we dragged 3 chairs out here on the stage, and we talked about the naive, the fool, and the mocker. You remember that? And so this morning, we're going to talk especially about a naive person. As we said at that time, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I know I'm going to offend most of you this morning, okay? Same deal as last time goes. If you were offended, I want to know about it. Please email me at steve@bccok.com. And sometime in the next decade, you might get an answer, okay? So you see this coming, and this guy is naive. Now, what does that mean? It just means that he lacks experience. And he's talking about a young guy, and I know, most of the students are back in the middle school area, in that area, but it goes to all of us, not always contingent upon your age, but all of us when we are young, we lack experience. Can I get an amen on that? Yeah. We've all been stupid, right? We've been simple. We've been naive. And it's not because we necessarily weren't paying attention. Sometimes it is. But it's more than likely we just don't have enough of life to have the experiences to make good decisions, things. That's just the way it is. That's the reason it's called naive. Now, when we get older, sometimes we can get enough experience that invades our thinking or our context of things, and it helps us do that. Now, notice I said experience can help you. It doesn't always lead to good judgment, but experience certainly is a crucial to good judgment to have. So let me just throw this in for free, all right? Students are here. This is the reason sometimes your parents go and roll their eyes at you instead of you rolling their eyes at them, because they hear you talk and they see a path that you're on and a perspective that you don't have enough life experiences to realize where it's going to lead to. And they think you lack judgment. And as one of my daughters told me, I lack judgment. Look at the hairdo that you have on your head that you've had the same since you were in high school. That's just parting down the middle and the whole thing, the bushy thing, and things were getting a lot shorter. And I thought, what does one have to do with the other? But in their mind, it does, okay? So we'll go on in that. So the truth is, as bad as your parents dress and as weird as they do their hair, whatever you want to say, they have time and experience, and time and experience sometimes gives us better judgment. And this seemingly insignificant detail is really important in our narrative when he says, a young man lacking what? Judgment. So verse 8 says, he's going down the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house at twilight, as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Now, you don't have to be a Bible scholar to pretty much anticipate what's going to happen next in this story, do you? Here's this kid, he's walking down the street, he's kind of looking around, and the sun's going down, and he's looking around, and he's evidently met this woman someplace there. In the back of his mind, there's a soundtrack playing. It's like, Born to be Wild, or Party Like a Rock Star. I can't do the rap thing. I can do Steppenwolf, but I can't do the rap stuff. Okay, so you get this playlist that's going on behind him. And he's strutting down the street. His confidence is growing as he's going down the street because he's making an anticipation of things. And in his mind, this is going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened. This is an event for him. Verse 10 says, Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute, with crafty intent. And Solomon puts this in as a side. She's loud and defiant. Her feet never stay at home. Now in this street, now in the square, and at every corner she lurks. She took hold of him and kissed him. And with a brazen face, she said, I have fellowship offerings at home. What? I have fellowship offerings at home? What in the world is this? Today, she says, I have fulfilled my vows. Now, this may need a little explanation, all right? Basically, she's saying, I'm not a hooker regardless of how I look. And I've got plenty of money, and what I'm after is you. When she says, today I filled my vows, it kind of means nothing to us, but there were some in the Jewish community and religion felt like you could fill your sin bucket up, heap it up with anything you wanted to do, just fill that sin bucket up. You could carry it to the temple, and you could make a confession. You could dump it out there on the altar, and they would put a sacrifice on the altar, and you were absolved of everything, and you pick that bucket up, and you can go back out and try to figure out how does it fill that sin bucket once more. That's crazy. I mean, there is nothing in God's system that says that at all. Does he offer forgiveness? Yes. But the forgiveness isn't to go out and sin all the more that grace may abound. I mean, that's not the whole purpose of that whole situation. And so this is what he's thinking that's going on. And so he says, come on, guy. And he's not analyzing the absurdity of her religious system. He was thinking, if my friends could see me now, born to be wild, he pumps up the volume even more. He pinches himself to make sure, he's not dreaming and went further down the path. And then the woman offers this little tidbit. Verse 15 says, so I went out to meet you and I found you. I went out to meet not just anybody. I went out to meet you. I came out to meet not just anybody, but you. I looked for you, and I found you. And he's thinking, dude, she came looking for me. I'm special. I'm one of a kind. I'm the man of her dreams. This is the stuff that songs are made of. I can't wait to tell all my friends. Now, even if Solomon were to call out a warning from the window, he wouldn't have been heard over the seductive voice of what he heard next. Verse 16, she says, I've covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon toast. I don't know whether that's going to be comfortable or not, but anyway. Come, let us drink our fill of love until morning. Let us delight ourselves with caresses. And just in case you were wondering, verse 19, she says, my husband is not home. And the guy's probably thinking, I'm assuming that, but I'm glad you told me. That takes away one other question I had. And she says, he has gone on a long journey. Literally, it says he's going to be gone until the full moon, which is a month off, which means you don't have to rush away in the morning. You can stay and stay and stay and stay. Verse 21 says, with persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. Suddenly, he follows her. He's thinking, I'm a rock star walking into a club. All eyes are on me. The older, wiser Solomon, he's thinking, you're just an ox getting ready to be slaughtered. He goes, no, don't you mean the rich and famous, go into a club? Do you not hear the soundtrack that's playing in my mind? And just in case you didn't get it, Solomon adds this, like a deer stepping into a noose until an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Solomon's point, as if he hadn't made it abundantly clear, was that this young man was throwing away his future. The direction he was headed was toward disaster. The path he was going down is filled with danger. And if the young man had been able to hear Solomon's thoughts, he would have said, You're like my old man up there in the window. You're like my mom. You're raining on my parade. You know, you've got it all wrong. This is just a date. It's an event. No, it's not just a date. It's not just an event. It's a path. It's a pathway. See, we get all focused on what we're doing and not where we're heading. We look at the immediate, but we don't look at the ultimate. I'm focused on the here and now, and God wants to lift our eyes and look toward tomorrow. Two contrasting perspectives on the very same event. And listen to this, verse 24. Solomon kind of steps back, pulls out of the narrative, and he begins to address you. He begins to address me. And he says, now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. 245 times in Proverbs, Solomon says, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Do not let your heart stray to her ways or stray into her paths. That's our word, paths, our path. It's not an event, it's a path. Verse 26 says, many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. In other words, Solomon's saying, Betty, hey, I hate to break it to you, but this is not a unique situation. I know you think she has found you, but the real way is this is a well-traveled highway. This isn't a once-time event. It's not unique. It's a well-worn path. You are part of a herd. It's predictable. And many, many, many are your victims. Betty, you're a dead man walking. And verse 27 repeats the warning. He says, her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. 8 lanes of superhighway. Now, this was written 3,000 years ago, and nothing much has changed since then, has it? You and I, we're on a path, and every path has a destination. And your destination is so predictable that I can say with confidence, before anything happens to you, you're like an ox being led to the slaughter. You win or you lose by the path that you choose. Unfortunately, those of us who are on the path, we don't realize the arrow is about to split our liver. Pretty drastic, isn't it? There is such a disconnect in our society. The disconnect says, as long as my intentions are positive and I want to end up somewhere good, it doesn't matter what path I take, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get my dream. And Solomon says, no, that's a disconnect. The path you're on determines your destination, not your intention. Your path trumps your intention. What I want does not get you anywhere. Where you're going on the path is where you will end up. And the reason, friends, I think the reason we are so enamored with the wrong path is because there is something or someone on that path, and it has such a strong emotional appeal. It's emotional, it's not rational, but it has such a strong emotional appeal that we get fixated on the immediate and don't think about the ultimate. The case for this guy in Proverbs chapter 7, what he's saying here has so much more application than just on the way to a prostitute. For you, it might be different. It may be a dollar sign. Being able to make more money. Be able to have more, and more of what you desire. It may be a status symbol. Things that you think will give you status and people around you. It may have a spotlight. So many of us love to be in the midst of the spotlight that we're in the center of, and we're so emotionally charged and appealing with that, it puts a hook in our heart, and it leads us down a path of destruction. Remember the verse says, don't let your heart stray? Don't let your heart stray. So is this a path that I want to be on? What's the attraction on this path? It's not just an event or a date or one deal. It's a pathway, it's a direction. And on the flip side, hear me now, on the flip side, this principle, like every other principle in the Bible, either works for you or works against you. And some of you this morning have been on some good paths. You've been on the path of faithfulness year after year after year, and you're beginning to experience the incredible benefit and blessing of being faithful. Some of you are on a path of forgiveness. You understand, you've experienced what bitterness can do to your heart and just eat you up time after time again. You've been on that path for so long and your heart is shriveled up. You've been hurt, you've been wounded. And finally you decide, I'm not going to go down that path of bitterness. And so you've started forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. And you're beginning to reach the destination where you're becoming a grace-filled, forgiving person. You've been perhaps financially responsible, and you've decided to live smaller, drive smaller cars, have little nice clothing, but not so pricey clothing. You've watched your expenditures, whatever it might be, and God didn't bless you overnight, but you chose a path that has a predetermined destination. Now, those weren't pastimes, they are pathways. And if you and I are on the wrong pathway, I think it's been true in my life, someone has already given me a warning. Someone who's a friend who cared about me has stepped into my life and given me a warning. But at that emotional appeal of the pathway to whatever it might be, it's the wrong pathway. If we keep paying attention to it because it has this emotional appeal to us, we end up being very disappointed. The reason you and I are so enamored with the wrong path, once again, I'm going to say it, is generally there's someone or something that has a strong emotional appeal on that path. So here's the question, all right? You ready? Here's the question for the day. If I continue on my current path, where will I end up? If I continue on my current path, where will I end up? When you think about your financial path, when you think about your relational path, your spiritual path, is this the path that you're going to take you where you ultimately want to be? If it is true that direction determines what? Destination. Say that with me. Direction determines destination. What direction are you going? What direction are you going morally? What direction are you going in your relationships? What direction are you going in your finances? Is it possible that right now at this moment that you need to make directional corrections in your life? Maybe the pathway you're going down the road and you all of a sudden realize, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. You can't maybe directly back up, but you may need to turn around and walk along and have somebody come alongside you to help you find a different pathway to be able to go on. The issue is not who or what is on the path, but where's the pathway headed? Nobody, listen to me, nobody gets around the principle of the path. Direction, not intention, determines destination. What direction do you want to go? I find this scenario so often in people's lives who have gone down and they have been partially slaughtered and they hurt because some habit in their life, some hurt in their past has pushed them towards a path that they believe where they're going to get better, but they're not going a direction where that can happen. They're going in a direction where the hurt keeps heaping up more and more and more. What direction do you want to go? I know for me personally on paths that I've gotten on where I've nursed anger, when I've been financially irresponsible, it takes a decision. It takes a decision to turn. And then it takes getting with people who can help support me in the new direction. I want us to close by this. I want to give you some time just for you to pray. and to say, God, I'm not sure what direction I'm going. My destination isn't firm. I think I know my intentions, but am I on the right path? And allow him to speak into your life. I believe strongly that God speaks to us when we ask him, when we're open to hearing what he has to say. I'm going to pray, and after I pray, we're going to be singing a song. And if you have a direction change that's needed, we're going to have some people that come up on the side, some coaches that would love to pray with you, love to talk with you. We may suggest, there may be some suggestions of groups that you can get with that will help you alter your path change. Celebrate Recovery is a great ministry for that, to help us realize that we all have hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and the path we're on is just leading to more hurt, and we need some help along the way. Would you bow your heads and pray with me? Father, I want to be where you want me to be. I ask for help this morning. Teach me how to make right pathway decisions. I realize I cannot do this on my own. I can't, but you can. So I'm willing to submit to your correction. I'm willing to submit to your will. And I choose you to follow Jesus wherever he may lead. In Jesus' name, amen.